This is the plaintiff, Mario Milano. He says he gave some expensive jewelry to the defendants to sell in their consignment shop. And after they got into an argument about payment on one of them, they took his items out of the display cases. Now he's having one heck of a time getting them to return his precious valuables, and is suing them here and now for the $4,925 he feels he's owed. These are the defendants, Susie and Kevin. Susie says their policy is if they can't sell the items on consignment within 150 days and the seller doesn't reclaim the property after that, it becomes abandoned and they get to keep the items. Well, this guy didn't show up for a year. The property indeed became abandoned and now he's out of luck. They're accused of being double-crossers.
All parties, please raise your right hand. Be seated and come to order, please. Litigants have been sworn in.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Milano, you had several items that you decided you wanted to consign. Is that the right verb?
That's the right verb,
at
yes.
the defendant's shop. It was a men's emerald ring. It was a woman's emerald ring. It was an emerald pendant. And it was a grandfather clock. Am I right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so you sign a contract, and do you have a copy of that contract?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, so do you have a copy of the contract?
We do.
Let me see your copy, too. I want to make sure we're all operating off of the same premise.
Thank you, sir.
Ooh, there's all kinds of different ink and writing all over it. How does that happen? Whenever some new fact happens, you write it on the contract?
Yes, we reduce the price.
Like, for example, on August 30th, you reduced the price. In red ink, you crossed out the price, and then you wrote the reduced price next to it.
Yes.
There's a bunch of writing. So messy.
I
Why
know.
is it so messy?
We apologize for that.
Right. No, I don't mean that
But
I
we
can't
never
read it. I
expected
mean
it to
that I
go
don't know
to
what
court.
happened. You shouldn't be messing with the contract that way. There should be an addendum with a date. This is on such and such a day. This is what we did. It would be much better if you kept records that
Agreed.
way. How long have you been in business?
We've been with the business 7 years.
7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the first time you have to go to court?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like,
Well, yes.
it's worth just keeping better notes so you're not embarrassed?
Correct.
Right, okay.
Agreed.
And you know what happened, because we have a couple of issues in this case. All right, so now 150 days from May 10th, 2017 have passed, and what happens? Do you go back and get all your stuff?
Yes, I do. I
So you
allege
go back and you took all the stuff back?
I allege that the defendant.
Wait, did you go back and take all your stuff back?
No, I didn't. I was not allowed to.
You tried to and they wouldn't
I
let you?
tried to,
Wait,
and
no, I know you tried to in 2019. I'm talking about, did you go back 150 days after May 10th, 2017?
No, I was in Florida,
Okay.
and the defendant had sold one of the rings. I asked the defendant, could she please send me the money that she owed me, about $250. She took $450 for herself. And she says, no, it's against our policy that you have to wait another 9 days.
Okay.
And
But
I told her I
the contract
was
you signed
still-
actually said that, right? We settle all accounts on the 10th of the month.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so
But this was,
and her taking 450 is the split you guys agreed to, right?
that's correct.
And go ahead,
And
what were you
I-
going to
Am I allowed
correct?
to say?
Yeah.
Excuse me, the ring sold for $500. It
Okay.
didn't, and the cut is 50-50 as per the agreement in the consignment, so,
Okay, where are you getting this? She took 450?
yeah.
Her staff told me it sold for $700.
Okay, do you
So-
have who in her staff told you that?
This was told to me by a young lady. It was either Maya or Patty.
Okay, do you have any proof of that?
Thank you, sir.
What
It
you're
was
saying?
only
Because they have the receipt for what it sold for.
It was only a phone call, and I was in Florida.
Okay.
And I
well,
asked-
it appears, when you do this, when you consign, you are at the mercy of the company, right? I once consigned about $2,000 worth of American Girl dolls that my poor middle daughter had cataloged once she grew out of them and was so happy about how she was going to make all this money. And apparently it sold for $100. And I'm pretty clear who it sold to, the consignment shop owner. So when you do stuff like this, you are at the mercy of the company, right? So I'm looking at their written records, and according to the written records, it sold for $500. Do you have any evidence other than hearsay that you say was said? Do you have an affidavit from that person saying they know it sold for $700? Do you have any evidence whatsoever?
The only evidence I have is that they called me to do this, and I did accept it.
Wait, they
and
called you to do what?
to accept this offer
Which offer?
of 700.
Who's they? You're talking about that staffer?
The staffers, yes.
Okay.
That's what they
And
said to
according
do,
to you,
and I
that never
agreed.
happened. It was always 500.
Okay.
The item sold for 500. The staff contacted Mario on the day that there was a customer interested in the item and asked if he would reduce the price, and he agreed to reduce it to 500.
The customer was offering 500.
Right.
Okay.
So we contacted him and he agreed.
Were you guys there, or that's
No,
what the staff
I was
was?
not in the store, which is
that-
why I
does-
asked them to do
So
it.
again, how do you know that? Because you asked the staffer, or there is a business record?
That's standard procedure.
The staff person contacted us to see if there was any wiggle room on this consignment item.
Okay, and
I
are
said,
there any business records, contemporaneous business records that you keep in order to show that, you know, the customer offered 500? I mean, it takes 1 second to type or write that, and no, you don't keep those records.
We don't keep records of what somebody
That
might
would
have
be
offered.
admissible in this court, but
Okay.
you telling me, someone told me X, is just as probative as him saying, someone told me Y. I'm gonna look at the business
On
record.
the
And
invoice.
the business record says it was sold for 500. Now, after it sells for 500, that happens after 150 days?
The item sold on August 17th,
So it's,
and then the accounts are closed and the checks are paid on the 10th of the month following the
so it's
sales.
kind of right there around the 150 days. But what happens then? You just keep the items and continue to try to sell them? Nobody signs a new contract?
New contract would be required if we were
Did
going
you
to.
sign a new contract?
No.
Okay, but you did agree to keep it on consignment?
Well, we didn't. We actually wanted Mario to come and pick up his stuff. when
Because
he
you
was in
got mad at
Florida.
him because he got a little testy about, I want my money wired and all that stuff.
Well, the checks weren't generated until the following.
To the 10th of the month of the following
Right,
month.
exactly.
That's what the contract
So
says.
essentially, he was asking for an advance, which, because of our accounting, we can't do. Different dealers can have
You don't have to
outstanding
explain it to me.
things
It's
or
right in the
whatever.
contract. That's all I
So
care about.
We can't do.
Right.
But so at that point, he was begging for money. I can't get back from Florida. I need $250. And at that point, it became him asking me for a loan, which this is actually the first time I've ever seen Mario. So I'm not going to loan somebody I don't know.
Well,
$250.
according to you, he offered, what would you offer me to go to the bank and get you the money you're talking about? And then you said $25, and then he said, that's not worth my going to the bank. And then you said, you can do it from your phone app. But the bottom line is that the contract says that you're not entitled to it until the 10th. So what happens? You
Well-
get your payment on the 10th?
No.
No, I never got my payment.
Why didn't you send him his payment?
We didn't know where to send it to.
The check was made, and you can see it in the records there. The original check was written for that sale. It
Well,
was
you
checked-
guys know how to talk on the phone. How do you not?
As far as
well,
we
why don't
know-
you call him and get his address and mail his check
He
on the
just
10th?
kept saying he was in Florida.
Yeah. And then did you say,
So,
hey, I
in
need your
no-
address to mail you the check? Did
Well,
you say that?
no.
No. Why didn't you?
Because-
everybody got testy. What happened? You tell me.
Because normally what the practice is when the checks are written, and this is what he was told this also, that the checks stay in the store and dealers and consignors pick them up.
Is that in your contract?
It's in the
I don't think
covenants
so.
and conditions, I
It's in the
believe.
covenants.
I don't know what that means. Is it in your contract with him, yes or no?
I actually don't know.
Then pay the 49 cents or whatever the heck a stamp is
So
now. And
then anybody wanting a check mailed, they leave a self-addressed stamped envelope.
So that we know that
And-
it's going to the right place.
and
It's
he
not-
So
didn't
go
do
on.
it.
And the
So
bottom line
this-
is at some point
the
he
last
does
we
come
knew,
back
he
from
was in
Florida. He
Florida.
does come in.
We don't hear from him September, October. I realize I still have the check because it's in the drawer. We're getting ready to do another pay. And I did call him to remind him that he had a check at the stop, to also remind him that the contract had expired and that it was time for him to pick up his items. The clock didn't work. It couldn't be repaired.
And this
It
was
in-
all what month?
in November.
November of 2017.
Correct.
And what does he say?
Honestly, I don't remember the exact language.
Were you still in
said-
Florida at the time in November of 2017?
Because he doesn't come until
No, Your Honor,
January.
and I have contrary documentation
I'm
that
sorry,
what
but hold on.
she's
You
saying
signed a
is not
contract that
true.
said after 150 days it'll be abandoned. So it's well over the 150 days. So why don't you go and get your stuff in November if there's a phone call? Or even if there's not a phone call, why don't you get your stuff?
Because originally, the defendant said to me, don't worry, we're going to display your items until they're sold. And they took my items when I was in Florida after we had a debate about this money, and he wanted to charge me a usurious amount of over 100% to borrow money on my own money for 9 days. So he said, okay, I'm taking all your items.
According
you
to
have
the
7
contract
days
you
to do
signed,
it.
it's not your money till the 10th of the following month, but go ahead.
So we went back and forth, and I have many emails and text messages that in November I pleaded with her.
To what?
To please let us continue on. We had a misunderstanding with
Because
Kevin.
tell me about the
for
misunderstanding.
usury.
These two get into a fight, and Kevin tells him, pick up your stuff. And then you get involved in what happens.
I don't remember having any contact with him until January 6th of 2018 when he came to the shop.
Okay, hand me all of the emails you just described. And then in January, according to you, what happens?
So he comes to the store and I show him where his clock is. It's been put in the dealer room off the floor because the bottom door didn't swing, and it became apparent to us that it was a hazard.
Safety hazard to our customers.
Correct. It also, we couldn't wind it. I did have a friend of the store come with parts to try to fix the clock, and they couldn't get it so it could wind or work, plus the door.
He's a certified horologist.
Horologist, right?
Which
and then-
is somebody who fixes
What's the
clocks.
word?
Horologist.
And what do they do?
Fix clocks.
Specialist.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Horologist.
Great
I
name,
have
right?
never heard that
I
word.
know.
Go ahead, go on.
So anyway, Mario and I talked again about the consignment agreement. This was again all verbal. I asked him again to please take his items out.
How do you know the things you're saying if you don't keep contemporaneous notes, business notes on
So,
this stuff?
exactly. I know, you're right. I didn't expect
No,
it to
so
come
how
to
do
this.
you know? I'm asking legit.
She does have notes of all contacts with Mario in her date books.
So you
I
do
kind
keep
of keep a
contemporaneous
little bit
notes,
of a
or this stuff was
diary.
reconstructed for court?
No.
Just a note that we had contact with Mario, not what happened on that particular date. And then we could piece it together
And on
from
the
that.
6th, I just remember what happened because I can remember us standing in the dealer room. We're looking at the clock. I'm having the conversation again. Please take your items out. The contract is expired. He asked, can I fix the clock? Can I get somebody else in to fix the clock? And I said, oh,
Okay, I'll try. So
Because
instead
I'm-
of the
yeah.
$250 that he was going to
So
pick
I
up, he
rewrote a
agrees,
check.
you mutually agree that he's only going to take $150 and you took $100 in order to fix the clock. Now, as
try-
it turns out, you didn't fix the clock.
Turns
and
out
you
I-
also agree to continue to market his stuff.
Well, we didn't.
Well, you did.
We didn't extend the contract.
Well, of course you did. I need you to stop and I need you to tell me what happened then because I've already read your notes. So you tell me what happened then.
So I rewrote him a check.
Right.
Tried
And
to,
then you didn't hand him the emeralds or anything else. You agreed.
said he
if you're
did-
going to fix a clock, what's the point, right? Unless
'Cause
you're
I-
going to sell it. I
'cause
mean,
I-
we know, you and I both know,
That's
you
exact.
agreed to continue to market it.
I agreed to help Mario out.
Yes, which means by what? By
was not-
feeding him applesauce? You agreed
By
to
taking
help.
the $100 and trying to get the clock fixed. And,
And what
nobody
else?
would touch it for $100.
And what else, though? And continuing to sell the stuff. Don't keep telling her what to say. I want the truth.
but the clock wasn't on the floor
you
to
agree
sell.
with- Right. And what about the emeralds and stuff? You didn't say, oh, while you're here, put these in your pocket. Because he made some comment about how the clock will not fit in my Jaguar, but the emeralds will. He doesn't take them back because you're going to continue to market them.
Okay.
All right. Now, let me ask you a question. Did you not have a copy of your contract? You lost your contract?
I have the contract, yes.
You always had the contract.
I had the contract and then.
Always. So you know what your cut is, right?
But the thing is, she altered the agreement
By?
without my permission. All these writing is
Oh,
her
that's
writing.
no. That's when the
altered
price
it.
stop. That's when the price got lowered according to the contract. You sign a consignment contract. It says it's over in 150 days. Also, what it says is you can't get your stuff back until 150 days, and you better get your stuff out after 150 days, because after that I'm going to own it, and there needs to be a little gap there. You should change that and give people 24 hours, 48 hours. I know you don't enforce it that way, but you don't want a judge to ever look at this contract and say, I'm throwing it out. So, you have to have a little gap there. So that is what you sign. Now what happens is everybody's keeping the stuff. They're not a bed. They're not saying, oh, who are you? No, that's my grand piano or whatever. They're telling you, okay, pick up your stuff. Okay, we're not laying claim to it, but you got to pick up your stuff. And it's not convenient for you because you're in Florida for the winter. So it's not convenient for you. You have not made arrangements for somebody else to pick them up. You don't have the wherewithal to pick up. Whatever it is, it's not convenient for you. So in January, you should be considering yourself lucky when she's talking to you, taking you around and making agreements. But when you turn around and talk about stuff and say what you're going to do, you re-enter into another contract with him. The question is, what are the terms of that new contract? He has the right to believe, when you put your hand down and listen, when you are acting as though you're going to keep things going, he has the right to believe that it's under the same terms as before. And they have the right to believe that it's under the same terms as before. So what I'd like to see now, what communications do you have between January 18th and, according to you, when's the next time you hear from him after January 18th?
April 14 of 2019.
19. And we're talking about January of 2018.
Correct.
So according to you, you have no contact with him for a year and a half.
Correct.
All right. Now, I want to
I
see
don't.
from you
Yeah.
any contact that you can prove you had with them in that year and a half, from January 2018 to April of 2019. Why? Because in my eyes, if everybody keeps acting like we're renewing the contract, then I'm going to act like we renewed the contract too. So I need to see all contact that you had between January of 2018 and April of 2019.
She seems to have a convenient memory loss, and
What's
this is
that?
the proof. This came from her cell phone, March 8th.
Show it to me in your cell phone.
I would be glad to do that.
He says, "Hi, Susie, how are you? Any sales yet?" You say, "No." Do you have it in your phone?
Yes, I do.
Let
And,
me see.
Your Honor,
I don't want to see a screenshot. I want to see it
This
in
is
the
the-
body of the text.
this
You
is the
understand what I'm driving at, right?
Yes, I
Because
do, and
screenshots
there
can
it
be
is.
altered. I want to see what comes before, what comes
Yes.
afterwards, so I can see if it's legit.
yes, it is, ma'am.
Okay.
It's very legit.
I will be
And
the
she
judge of
has
that.
a convenient way of forgetting things.
Okay, so at some point in December of 2017, he asked for the contract and you take pictures of it and send it to him. And then apparently maybe you got, I'm looking right at the text.
Okay.
Also, whoever sent this to him had the contract. So,
That's fine.
And it sounds, when I'm reading it, it sounds like you.
And it's the same contract that we gave you?
Yeah, it's exactly
okay.
the one with the notes, so it can only be you.
That's fair enough.
And then it's you asking, "Shall I take this message as a confirmation you will not come in on Sunday?"
Okay.
And he says, that's when he says, "That's right. Under your demands, I cannot move the clock today. It will not fit in my Jaguar." So this is you. I got that this is, and so I'm looking
find
here.
record of it, yeah.
Oh, in March of 2018, "Hi, Susie, how are you? Any sales yet?" No. It sounds like that happened. So now let's move the clock again. March of 2018. Show me any correspondence that you guys have between March of 2018 and April of 2019.
It is something to note that she forgot.
I need an answer to the question I asked.
All right.
Because I'm being awful generous moving the clock. You asking a question, "Hey, you sold it," doesn't move the clock. But I'm going to move the clock anyway because I know how much time passed, so I don't even have to quibble about that. So do you have any correspondence between March of 2018 and April of 2019?
I do, Your Honor. I just need a little moment
No
to
problem.
look for it. I'm
Okay,
so
and
sorry.
according to you, there's none, right, folks?
The next communication we have is April 25th, Your Honor.
And what happens according to you on April 25th? Because I want to give him a chance to look for what I just asked him to look for.
My response to him was April 25th. His email was on April 17th.
What does he say?
Dear Susie, since you discredit my proof that we were at all times in communication and refused to give my share of the sales items, I have attached a lawsuit that will be filed Friday in municipal court. Please read the attached. It is your decision to have a judge decide, pay court costs, witness
Blah, blah,
fees.
blah. Okay, so
your
now
day
we've
in
hit the
court,
fan.
blah, blah,
We
blah.
know what happened, so we know it's April. Now go ahead. By the way, what items do you still have? Just
Clock-
curious.
The clock
The clock
and the
and the
men's emerald ring.
I have pictures.
What
if
happened to
you'd
the
like see.
pendant?
Yes.
We don't know.
You guys have looked, you can't find it? See, that's why you got to keep better notes. Well, how do you lose
The
a
notes she has
beautiful
on her
emerald pendant?
contract indicate that he might have taken it.
No,
Might-
they
maybe he
don't.
did
Where
it
do your notes indicate he might have taken it?
when it was
You,
crossed out.
just because you cross it, that's how you record that a person took
We
their
don't
stuff?
know where the pendant is.
Exactly.
We do not
All right,
have
you
a record of
don't
a
talk
sale.
so much.
No.
She's more reasonable.
We don't
I need you
have-
guys to think. This is why you have to keep some notes so that you don't get asked a question like this and then, I mean, it sounds really messy. You should be, this is a beautiful piece that you should be able to sell. Does it matter legally if I find that he abandoned it? No, not really. You lost your own thing. But you shouldn't lose stuff, right?
Right.
People should have faith you're not going to lose stuff.
That's correct.
All right.
I allege that she
I don't want to hear what you allege. I want to hear an answer to my question.
Okay, the question is
the question pending is, show me proof of any communication from March of 2018 to April of 2019. That is the pending question.
Welcome back to the People's Court. The plaintiff says he gave the defendants some of his stuff to sell on consignment, and they lost his jewelry and broke his clock. But the defendants seem to be saying he left his stuff there when the contract ran out. Does the contract automatically renew when it runs? Let's go back into the courtroom.
The only thing I have is this particular situation here. And I did not want to disturb them because her emphatic no thought maybe I leave them alone. They're going to sell these items. I won't bother them anymore.
You think that's
and
going
they
to
will
stop
send-
the 150-day clock from running?
But we agreed. We agreed.
That what, in
that she
perpetuity,
would
they
not-
belong to you and
that-
they take up
no,
space in their
that-
place?
No, sir.
The only
No, ma'am.
right you have is to assume that a contract is being renewed. Under what terms? The terms of the original contract. Frankly, this would be a lot less messy if you made everybody re-sign, okay? You know, everything's digital now. It's all easy. It's not like the old days where people had to come in and, you know, you could do this so easily. So I don't understand why you would think that you magically, by not picking up stuff and them not saying the first time, hey, this stuff is ours, pal, you think that you have greater rights than every other consignor there. You have the same rights. You have the right to expect the same rights if they keep renewing the contract by acting like it's around. But you cannot tell me, yes, I have lots of contact all that time. She's denying we had contact. And then magically, when I ask you the specific question and give you time to find your proof, say, I made the decision that I was going to leave them alone, that maybe things would work out better. You leave them alone, your 150 days are running, pal, just like every other consignor. So there was a document you wanted me to see.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's see it.
There is another circumstance here that
Oh, these are just your notes. This is
Right.
what you want me to see?
I'm still looking, ma'am. But in the meantime, the defendant, Susie, said to me that anytime I would come in the store, I would have to speak with Kevin only. And this Kevin was very, very adamant with me and very condescending. And I checked to see why
Mr.
is this
Milano,
man
can
there?
I
And
ask you a question?
Why does he have
don't
a
you just pick up
restraining
your toys and go
order?
home? When you don't want to do business with them, just don't. But it's
Because-
not convenient for you because you spend so much time out of the state. So
No.
all of a sudden,
No.
that's someone else's problem. I don't get it.
No, okay, please let me explain, please. I'll make it quick.
You know what? I lose my patience when you say nothing that would have any legal bearing on anything. You have a contract. I deal in contracts. If, in fact, you got lost from March of 2018 to April of 2019, what rights do you still have to any of this stuff? If they lost the emerald necklace, that's their emerald necklace that they lost, not yours, because you would have abandoned your right to it once you didn't show up for 6 months or whatever, 155 months.
But Mr. Kevin had a restraining order against him. Clients say, stay clear of this man 100%. I have this
What on earth
evidence.
are you talking about?
The reports they have about him, here is his restraining order. I
you
did not
talking
want to
about
have a
another case?
conversation. No, I did not want to have a conversation with
I'm sorry.
Conversation
You
with
have
him.
a restraining order?
No.
Who has a restraining order? Another person?
Yes, against
Okay,
him.
I don't care about that. It has
Okay.
nothing to do with you.
But I did not want to
Then
have
you
a
don't. It's fine. You made a choice. You
confrontation
didn't
of
pick
him.
up your stuff.
I did
Because
not
your
want-
choice is to pick up your stuff, right? You do get what I'm saying. All you got to do, you don't have to have any contact with them. Go away. I'm done with you. Go pick up your stuff. Did you pick up your stuff?
She said she
Did you
would
pick
sell
up
it.
your stuff? Yes or no?
We made an
your case
agreement.
is over.
We made an
It is
agreement.
abandoned. I find that you have the rights to it. Now I have an additional question. Do you want him to pick up the stuff or do you want to be rid of him?
At this point, the less communication, we offered Mario for him to come and get all of his stuff if he would just pay the storage fee on it.
No, he's not going to do that. Because the storage fee would be more than, he would have to pay you to get the stuff and then sell the stuff anyway to recoup what he paid you. So that's probably not going to happen. So I find that the stuff was abandoned and what you guys work out among yourselves is your business. Verdict for the defendant.
So, Mr. Milano, the plaintiff fails to convince the judge that he should prevail, and Mr. Milano, your stuff has been abandoned. What are you thinking?
Well, it's not true. There
it
is
is
such
true.
a thing. Well, it is true as they try to present it. But this is about the breach of applied covenant of good faith and of having these items. And this is only like Michael Douglas said in the famous movie, Wall Street, it's all about greed.
Well, you can say what you want, but under the terms of the contract, you didn't get your material, and so it's gone. You didn't live up to the terms of the contract that you signed. That's what the judge said. And what she decided. Okay. I'm sorry, but it's over now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, good enough. You must sign some documents. Susie and Kevin are on their way out of the courtroom right now. I think you learned a little bit about what you should do with your contracts to help strengthen your business. You know, you learned something out of this.
We sure have.
I guess the other question is, what are you going to do now? The clock is still there. The other material's still
Clock
there.
is still there,
Guess we're going
and
to try to
The
sell
necklace
it.
is gone, right? You know, pendant.
necklace, we have a ring.
Yeah.
I guess try
I
to
mean, the
sell
clock
them.
has been marked down to $500 and it hasn't sold in 3 months.
All
But
right.
I mean, the
Well,
only
you
recourse
prevailed.
we
Let's
have-
put it there. Your first term to court?
Yes.
Well, you learned something.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin, very much. All right. Harvey?
You got to read contracts really carefully when you do something like this. And by the way, especially in a consignment sale, you got to know when you have to pick the property up, because if the contract runs out and you don't pick up the property in time, it is abandoned and you're in trouble.